Welcome, everybody. Hello, and welcome to March. We're so excited that you're here with us today, and we're looking so forward to our discussion about supporting and hiring from the new American workforce. Last month, if you haven't watched that session, go back to the recordings. We had a great conversation around how DEIAB is more than just an acronym. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility and belonging are critical core values that need to be practiced norm in the workplace. And this session is going to link that value system to a group of people coming to the United States seeking a new home and meaningful work in Minnesota, with employers that value them. And this means you. And it could also mean you as partners to support this talent group and these people that are coming to live here in Minnesota, this great state. Our team works diligently to assist employers in diversifying their workforce, establishing relationship with local partners and diverse talent, and creating workplace cultures that are welcoming to all. This session today highlights these partnerships. Thank you to our former Southeast consultant, Jessica O'Brien, for being here today and introducing us to an amazing team serving our immigrant and refugee population, who you will all be getting an opportunity to learn from today, and linking them to employers that are seeking talent. My name is Jessica Miller, and I'm the Director of Workforce Strategy here with Deed. And we are so very happy to have you with us today. If you're new here, thank you so much for joining us. If you're returning, thank you for joining us again. Take a second, if you haven't already, and introduce yourself in chat. It's so fun to read through and see who's here, our new people, as well as those folks that have been with us for the long haul since we started this journey. You'll see on this, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. You'll see on the slide here that we do not do our work alone. Um, we have a lineup of our sessions already, that on a previous slide, we'll get that link in there if you've got additional topics that you want to be signing up for. Our session will go today until 12, after which we'll segue into our 30-minute unplugged portion of the event, where we will invite you to turn on your cameras, unmute yourself, ask questions of our panelists, as well as our team of workforce strategy consultants, verbally or through chat. I'd also like to take a moment to encourage you to fill out the evaluation at the end of our time here together. We will get that link popped in the chat for you as well. We do take that information and funnel it in to make our sessions better, and we utilize your content and your feedback on what topics are important to you and what you would like to learn more about. As always, you'll see that these webinars are recorded and available to view at any time via YouTube, as well as our careerforcemn.com website, where you will find all the recordings that we have so far, as well as resources from this session and previous sessions. We will be utilizing our chat feature today throughout our time together. Please ask questions, answer questions, and interact with our guest consultants, partners, and each other. We really want to continue to build upon this community that we've started here and welcome your engagement always. To kick things off again, take an opportunity to let us know who you are, where you work, and anything specifically that you would like to learn more about today. And continue to ask those questions in chat, because we take those and we use those um, uh, to pipeline questions that you want to learn more about through the Workforce Wednesday Unplugged session. So our team of consultants work regionally, which means that each consultant will have a slightly different way of doing their work based on the region and employers that they're serving in those regions. But the common core ways that we serve customers and employers are on this slide here. We work with you to identify gaps in your current strategies, ensure that you are connected with your local, regional, and state workforce partners, and we assist you in building out strategies that will help you attract and retain workforce. When you work with us, you're automatically connected to a wide network of people and partners who work collaboratively for the success of our state, our regions, our communities, so that your business and our workforce can thrive. And again, we never do this work alone. It takes many people to bring success to these efforts. We have a packed agenda today with some amazing guests that we're so excited to introduce to you, who have dedicated their careers to being change makers and culture shakers, So without further ado, it's my privilege to introduce you to our Northeast-based workforce strategy consultant, the amazing Shayla Drake.
Well, that was a fantastic intro. Amazing. Well, thank you. I'm Shayla Drake. I'm the Northeast Workforce Strategy Consultant, and we are excited to have you join us today to hear from an incredibly talented group of industry professionals at this challenging time for all things the workforce. So, as Jessica said, these webinars provide an opportunity to share successful strategies and information. Today, we'll be discussing supporting the new American workforce, which can be a really broad term. And we'll be focusing the conversation on individuals and programs funded by the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Our agenda today is going to be an overview of resettlement in Minnesota, given today by Jessica O'Brien from the Department of Human Services Resettlement Program Office. And then we've got the individuals from different programs who are going to be introducing those programs. And so I will let them introduce themselves here shortly, but I have their names listed here. And unfortunately, Robin was not able to join us today, but the thing with these providers is these providers are actually out in the field directly servicing individuals. And so this is the nature of the work, right? And, you know, having a panelist of all of the panelists that are actually out there doing the work, having them all here at one time, one panelist not being here today is par for the course. It is what it is, and I was expecting it. So then we will move into a panel discussion where we're going to have our questions and answer session, and then we'll have our unplugged after. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jessica O'Brien, who is going to give us the overview on resettlement in Minnesota.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. So I just want to take a minute and acknowledge and my appreciation, Shayla, for you for moderating this. And I also really want to thank all my former colleagues on the DEED Workforce Strategy team for the invitation to join the conversation today on supporting Minnesota's new American workforce. I also really want to thank the resettlement employment service providers that our office funds, who are taking time out of their busy schedules to join the panel today and who do the very important work every day of connecting newcomers to employment opportunities in Minnesota. So my name is Jessica O'Brien, and I'm the Employment and Workforce Specialist at the Resettlement Programs Office at the Minnesota Department of Human Services. And our office works to support individuals arriving to Minnesota under humanitarian protection as they work to rebuild their lives in Minnesota. And so before I get started, I wanted to just take a minute to acknowledge that there may be other current events happening in the news that people might want to discuss, and that there are many other employment and workforce programs and partners in our state, and also understanding that the term New Americans can be really broad. And so, as Shayla mentioned, I just really wanted to clarify for the purpose of my engagement in the conversation today and in the scope of my work, I will be focusing on individuals under humanitarian protection who are eligible for the Federal Office of Refugee Resettlement Funding, which our office administers. And so in my part of the session, I will provide an overview about resettlement trends and populations, the services our office funds, and then some resources for you to explore in the future. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we'll go to the next slide. So I wanted to start with a global picture. And so this is a visual of the total number of people who have been forcibly displaced worldwide. And at the end of 2022, 108.4 million people worldwide were forcibly displaced as a result of persecution, conflict, violence, human rights violations, and other events. And so what's important to note here is that in the past year, less than 1/2 of 1% of these individuals were offered the opportunity to permanently resettle in another country. And so essentially what this means is that these individuals who are arriving to Minnesota have really beat these odds and are part of this global 1%. We'll go to the next slide. And so as many of you may know, the US has a longstanding history of welcoming refugees going back to post-World War II, with federal structures for resettlement being formally established in 1980. And we'll go to the next slide. So our office uses this umbrella to give a visual representation of who falls under the category of humanitarian protection as defined by federal statute. The Federal Office of Refugee Resettlement under the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services provides the funding that our office administers to support the integration of these newcomers. And these humanitarian statuses listed here in green represent the different groups of job seekers who are served by the employment providers we fund, some of which are joining us today on the panel. In Minnesota, historically, for many years, many arriving to Minnesota under this humanitarian protection umbrella were refugees. And since 2021, we've seen a growing trend of individuals arriving to Minnesota under additional statuses, including humanitarian parole. For example, Ukrainian and Afghan humanitarian parolees, as shown here in the bottom of the slide. We'll go to the next slide. So since the United States Refugee Admissions Program began in 1980, we can see a snapshot of the arrival numbers from a national lens over time. And some things to know about this program is that the federal administration, in consultation with Congress, sets the arrival ceiling each year that specifies the total number of individuals arriving under refugee status that our country will accept every year. And so this is shown in blue in this chart. And then over time, this is an average of about 90,000 people per year nationally. And this year, that number is set at 125,000 people. And then also to note here in this slide is there can be many variables that impact the actual number of people who end up arriving each year. And that number is shown here in orange. And we'll go to the next slide. And so looking at trends in Minnesota since 2005 show us the shift from traditional resettlement of refugee arrivals to other humanitarian arrivals, which I spoke to on the previous slide. So the average over the last 15 years is just under 2,000 arrivals each year to Minnesota. And a new trend we are seeing when you look at the dark blue of refugee arrivals and compare it to the start of 2021, you can see the increase in other humanitarian arrivals in green, with this trend continuing from 2021 through 2023. And so when you think back to the umbrella slide previously and the different statuses of people under humanitarian protection, in addition to traditional refugee resettlement, we expect to also see growth in these other humanitarian statuses as well. And so for you all to know, all of which are people who are work authorized and are being served by our employment services providers who are joining us today. So we'll go to the next slide. And so, as many of you may know, people with refugee status have often experienced significant loss and work hard to rebuild their lives and careers with a lot of courage, determination, and resilience. And in Minnesota, we know that newcomers bring with them valuable skill sets that contribute to our state's community and economic ecosystems, including serving as legislators, school board members, teachers, nurses, manufacturing and production technicians, skilled trade workers, and business owners. And so as a way to recognize the positive impact of refugees in our state, our office has created the Outstanding Refugee Award. And these photos here represent some of Minnesota's award recipients over the past couple of years. And so if you want to learn more about any of these award winners, I encourage you to follow this link here for more information. We'll go to the next slide. On a related note, I wanted to call attention to an exciting new national report that just came out from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services that quantifies the fiscal impact of refugees and asylees on our U.S. economy for folks here that might be interested in learning more. And we'll go to the next slide. And another good resource for information is the Refugee Processing Center, which provides state data for refugee arrivals to Minnesota by nationality. And the data shown here in the green column is from this current fiscal year, so over the past 4 months, alongside data from 2023, and shows our state's total number of arrivals so far this fiscal year of 869 people. And so as you can see, these are individuals representing many nationalities. There are 36 that are shown here, with their overall trend in the future expected to increase this upcoming year to 85 different nationalities. And so an important takeaway here is that while we do have some larger, well-established refugee communities in Minnesota, it's also important to know that we have a diverse range of nationalities who are also arriving to our state. And we'll go to the next slide. And so a little bit about the services that our office funds and services to new arrivals. So we use this image with the family at the center as a visual to describe our resettlement services in Minnesota and how they are intended to work together in a whole family approach to serve the holistic needs of a family. And our office funds a statewide network of agencies that provide resettlement services and work together to support individuals in this transition to their new life in Minnesota. And so these services provide important functions like basic needs supports and connection to immediate needs and community resources, health connections, family and student coaching and mentoring, community orientation and integration workshops for newcomers, immigration legal services that support people in obtaining employment authorization and supports people on the path to U.S. citizenship. And lastly, employment placement support, where our providers assist people with skill assessments, filling out job applications, facilitating employer connections, gathering work authorization documents, assessing work availability based on the needs of the family. So looking at things like transportation and other family caregiving needs, and then providing cultural brokering and language supports to both job seekers and employers. And we'll go to the next slide. And so this slide shows the 12 agencies throughout Minnesota that our office funds to help people find employment. And we fund a consortium of 7 agencies in the metro and 5 agencies in greater Minnesota. And you can hear more about all the good work that they do from the panelists coming up shortly. We'll go to the next slide. And I wanted to briefly share a few slides with everyone with some resources for you all to explore. So this slide is a resource for HR folks and has the contact information of the Department of Justice Immigrant and Employee Rights Office, which has a hotline for employers where you can call them and ask questions about employment eligibility documentation. And a live person, a live human is always there to answer the phone, and they're very, very helpful. And you can also do this anonymously if you prefer. They also have a really great handbook for employers. That's a good resource as well. And we'll go to the next slide. And then here are some resources that you can learn, where you can learn further details about different populations arriving to the US and how to support them as well. We'll go to the next slide. And so we often get questions about this new federally administered sponsorship the new federally administered sponsorship pathways. So we wanted to also clarify that these programs are outside of the work that our office is engaged in, as our role is to provide services to eligible groups once they arrive to Minnesota. And so we don't oversee or administer any of these programs, but we did want to provide you with some links if you're interested in learning more about any of these different sponsorship pathways. And we'll go to the next slide. And then here are some national and global resources you can explore that highlight how communities are engaging in welcoming efforts and look at how employment pathways are being designed and utilized across the world. And we'll go to the next slide. And then lastly, I wanted to share registration information for an upcoming virtual webinar that our office is hosting in April that will allow for a deeper dive into many of the themes that I talked about today. So I think there's a link in the chat coming for that. And then with that, that concludes my portion here. And so I'm going to hand things back over to Shayla and the rest of the panelists. So thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Jessica. That was amazing information, and we got lots of links in the chat for everybody. That's going to be a lot of information coming your way. This information is being recorded. The resources after this event will be posted on the Workforce Wednesday web page. So don't fret. All of the information will be available to everybody after the event. Don't worry about having to click all of the links now and try to get them all and panic. We're moving into the panelists intro, so they're going to be able to introduce themselves now and move into the discussion. So don't worry about chasing all of the links now. Absorb the information because there's a lot more information coming. I'm going to move on to Levon first. Levon, I will let you take it away. Oh, geez, if my slide will cooperate. There we go. There we go.
Thank you so much, Shayla. Hello, everyone. I'm Liban Nur. First of all, I want to thank the Workforce team at DEED organizing this wonderful event. Thanks to all the employers and other guests giving your valuable time to attend this. So again, my name is Liban Nur. I'm a program manager with the Lutheran Social Services here in Metro, but also a member of the Employment Achievement Resettlement Network in Metro, which is a program that we help all the new Americans or what we call new arrivals resettled in Minnesota, connecting them with employment opportunities and, creating these opportunities to also connect employers, this client pool, with a lot of talents that we have. It's not only LSS, we also have other partner agencies in this program, including Arrive Ministries, Minnesota Council of Church, International Institute of Minnesota, Current Organization of Minnesota, African Community Services, and CAP USA. We also have other partners that are collaborating with us in the community that we refer to other services and resources as we see fit, or anything we could see as being beneficial to our clients to obtain a job that they will like and make that connections. So things we do is, employability assessment, job placements, building employer partnership. We also do a lot of educational piece where we teach our clients the new market of working in the United States, new life in the United States. Certain things we do is also included job readiness workshops that we teach all those soft skills that employers are expected. Those trainings are also based on input from employers in the area and what qualities are they looking, while we also continuously assessing the skills and the talents of our clients so that we can be that bridge and make the better match for clients to the right employers. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Jaffer from Minnesota Council of Churches. Jaffer, would you like to introduce yourself and your organization?
Thank you, Sheila. My name is Ahmed Mohamud, nickname Jafar. That's the nickname I have, which is more familiar than even my real name, formal name. I am working with Minnesota Council of Churches in Menkero, especially. Our main office is located in Metro, but we have a small, mighty office in Menkero area. We serve both refugees and asylees in our area here. And we just first work hard to connect and adapt to the life in the United States, those newcomers. We give them some kind of orientations on how to build resumes, provide for the employers to have a good quality employees. Yes, there is challenge, and also we face that challenge those employees face when they are enrolled into join to the workforce until for the first 90 days. So to just help them to achieve and find the best job they can get. In Menkero, this office was open in 2012. Since then, we have a lot of partners closely working with the employers as well as other partners just to get them resiliency, our clients. We connect them to the resources in the area first. When they settle and get housing, all kind of whatever resources they are eligible to, that's the time we jump into job seeking. Through the job seeking, we help whatever challenge comes against us, together with the clients. We closely work with the employers in the area, and most of our work is just to culturally educate our employers how they can accommodate the best way they can accommodate these newcomers. So that's our job. And that's the introduction. I just want to make sure. Thank you all.
Absolutely. Thank you. Next, we have Becca. Becca, would you introduce Cappy, yourself and your organization?
Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Becca Hovland. I'm the Director of Refugee Services at CAPI. CAPI is an immigrant-led organization based in the Twin Cities. We help immigrants, refugees, and those in need meet their basic needs, find financial stability, and get engaged in their communities. Some of the specific ways community members can receive support are through our culturally specific food shelf, credentialed training programs, refugee employment and housing resources, civic engagement and advocacy programs. And today I specifically want to highlight a program that is geared towards employers. It's called the Employer Engagement Program. So we believe employers are crucial to the long-term success and integration of newly arrived Americans. So our team provides inclusive workforce consultation for employers. And our resources are specifically for Afghan employees, but are very easily adapted to any new American communities. So some of the ways we help employers are through creating inclusive pathways to career advancement, setting up industry-specific ELL classes for employees, providing cultural orientation both for new American employees and for management and supervisors and HR. We provide translation and tools for language and cultural accommodations, and we create individualized training and goal plans for new American employees. And as we go through the panel discussion, I'll be touching a little bit more in detail on all of those supports. Thanks, everyone.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Next, we have Hashi from Lutheran Social Services. Hashi, would you like to introduce yourself and your LSS area?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. My name is Mohammed Hashi. I am with the Lutheran Social Service of Minnesota, based in St. Cloud office. I'm program manager. Lutheran Social Service resettles refugees from many parts of the world. We work closely with refugees to secure housing, find employment, enroll in school, connect to medical care, orient to their community, and build bridge across cultures. We have employment services funded by the state of Minnesota. We have multilingual and multicultural staff that can team with employers when assistance is needed. And our employment services, we provide job readiness training and assist to secure and maintain employment, post-employment support, access to an employment specialist, and interpretation, case management, referral to other resources in the community.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hashi. And then unfortunately, Robin wasn't able to be here today from CAPI. So with that, we're going to move on to our panel discussions. So I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay. So first of all, thank you all for being here. I know it is a lot for you to take this much time out of your day servicing individuals and assisting individuals to just sit and have a discussion. So I appreciate your time in being here. So the first thing that I kind of want to start with, thinking about just kind of the intro and all of that, is I'm kind of with the group, thinking kind of everybody was talking about services and availability with some of the language assistance services that a lot of the individual programs provide. So I'm going to pose this kind of question to the entire group, and we'll kind of go around. But what are some of the most common language barriers faced by New Americans in your region accessing services or seeking employment? So when they're trying to seek employment, what are those most common language barriers? So I'll start with Jaffer, then we'll go with Liban, and then we'll go Hashi, Robin, and then, well, Robin's not here. So then we'll go with Becca. So Jaffer, Liban, Hashi, and then Becca. So yeah, but what are some of the most common language barriers that they have? I mean, we know they're not, maybe, is it the policies, the procedures, the applications, all of the above, and what are you seeing out there? And we can just do that round robin.
Thank you, Sheila. I mean, when it comes to language barrier, I mean, mostly these newcomers, they are either bilingual or trilingual, but the challenge they have is that maybe the language they know well is not English, which is the main pathway to workforce. So when it comes to newcomers, English is their first, one of the language barrier they have. But mostly we work out how to just cross that line and just join to workforce. What do we do? For example, we help them with applications. Yes, how to fill applications. We provide them the resume for them. Yes, we give them some kind of training, cultural training, how the work or job looks like in the United States. In the final, we go through until they go to even sometimes orientation. We attend with them to help that way, if the policy of the employer allows that. So the language barrier is one of the most barriers the newcomers face. That's why we are there, just to let them get into that path through either using our staffs or maybe some volunteers in some cases. That's how we just, cross that line and just help the newcomers from my end. Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you. Liban.
Yeah, thank you so much. Jafar mentioned how this magnificent it is, but also I just want to add on, it's really very essential, and that's where we come in to help. We always see language as a big barrier. I want to change it. Not able to communicate in English is one of the big barriers, because when we say in language, we know most of those folks are multilingual and they have different language that they well communicate. But in that also, I want to say it's more like initial barrier than in later stages, as we refer them to a lot of resources of ESL, where they study the language while they also access to the workforce. Couple of the things I want to highlight is the system of our workforce, or when it comes online application, filling paperwork, and all those are based local English speakers. And, we've seen that people may have the talent, the skill, and everything to do what the employers are asking, but having that language barrier is something that, that hinders or always become the bigger barrier that they can even access, right? So we all know without filling the application, you don't even have a chance to be interviewed or get to know what skills you have, what background you have, or what they can contribute. So yeah, language barrier is a big thing that we face. And as Jafar was saying, that's one of the reasons we are here. We are very diverse client-based representation in our teams of helping clients, employment counselors, managers, and all. Those are representation that we represent culturally, language, and fill those initial barriers to fill the gap. Thank you.
Thank you. Hashi, do you have anything to add to that?
And I think everyone, everything Liban and Jafar said are true, and I think everyone can agree that language barrier is an obstacle for some refugees accessing employment, and filling an application is always difficult when someone does not understand the language. And some refugees they can read and write, but sometimes how the language is written may be difficult and they don't understand. I think simple and English sometimes that, and if we have employment applications that are very simple, might help and our clients. And yeah, I think I agree with Liban and Jafar.
Awesome. Becca?
Sure. Yeah. The one thing I would add to what everyone else has said is the biggest thing we often face is just seeing employers who require a specific level of language, like a 5th grade English level or an 8th grade English level. So, it's like, what does that even look like? What does that even mean? And how is that connected to the level of language that's actually needed to complete the job? So often standardized English tests aren't actually going to show what is needed to communicate on the job. So yeah, that's what I would say. It's kind of hard to, take someone's actual communication skills and and get them to reach an 8th grade level when they can actually probably complete the job with the level of English that they have.
Absolutely. And, to that point and kind of, so many new Americans come with like valuable skills and experience. Let's take the language piece out of it for a second, because they're getting assistance from you all, for example, in assisting with language. Let's say you all are coming in providing language assistance and providing that support, and you're becoming the bridge for that. How do you assist in assessing skills matching to employment opportunities? Let's say, for example, we're assisting in the language piece. What about the skills piece? And because, thinking about the valuable skills and experience, that's another piece that people forget, or about. There's a gap in the skills to transition to career piece for a lot of individuals. So, I would pose to you, Becca, with that piece for individuals, and Liban and Jaffer as well, for you all, with the valuable skills and experiences individuals coming, how do you assist with assessing and maybe skills matching to employment opportunities, not taking into account, of course, there's going to be the language as a piece, but stepping away from the language barriers and just thinking about those, skills pieces to current employment opportunities.
I think I would like, is it Becca, or you ask Becca or directly, or Sheila? Or we can ask.
Actually, we can, all three of you, but we can start with you, Jaffer, and then Becca, and then Liban.
I think when it comes to employment, I believe the barriers are a lot, not just only language. For example, if I share this story, how we just find solution if someone don't speak English and still have skills and to contribute that skill with the workforce. One example, when I first get employed with MCSD, they give me assignment of 2 women who cannot speak English, cannot write, and maybe they had a big challenge to find jobs for 1 year. It is hard to find jobs for those 2 ladies. That was my first assignment. Then I have to find out and let them join the workforce. What I did, first, I just make research, find out what employer hires what individuals who speak that specific language my client speaks. And if I get that, as soon as I find it, I check second thing, which is the barrier, transportation. Does that person have some kind of transportation through the job, or is just depend on someone else? After I get it, I reach out the employer, convincing I have a client. Yes, they needed to just employ that individuals. There's a position open. I directly communicated with the HR, asking, this is the client I have. Yes, they can't speak English, they cannot write, but they have skills. They are capable of doing this kind of entry-level jobs. How we can solve? You need a manpower, and here's the skill. They have it. The only thing is just this language. The way we can solve, you already hired someone who speaks their language, working for you. So is there any way we can just maybe connect that gap and give them same shift, so that these individuals, when they get first training, you will see how the productivity, how they can, give you back their skill. Yes, they did it. Though it took me like 2 weeks to start that new job. Finally, they find it, they connected, they trained, and she was one of the best employer within 3 months. Because she has the skill, she can do it. We removed the barrier she's facing. That is how mostly we resolve when it comes to language barrier. in our area, especially.
Yeah.
And I leave the colleagues whatever they want to add.
Yeah, I would jump in and say it's really helpful when employers are able to allow space for community organizations to come in and offer, our support of individual employees, whether it's having an advocate, or an interpreter along with them. We've taken various clients to, like a local mechanic shop who, they were able to ask our client to just show me what you can do. And then they were able to write a confirmation that, yes, this person does have the skills, so that we could take that to other employers when they were applying for jobs. So just kind of that space, helping really understanding or space for employers to meet folks where they're at, and giving a little more space for an advocate or an interpreter to come along, or some sort of pre-hiring bridging training that applicants can access.
Yeah, so just to add on that, what Jaffer and Becca said, it's really so amazing to have, access or meet new Americans in our communities. And it's really surprising to see how talented they are. A lot of people, or our understanding for new Americans, people may think of people coming here looking, peace, security, and opportunities. But what most of people don't know are like people been working. People have a lot of talents that we can only imagine. People have been living in their homelands. As we know, there has been some sort of persecution or problems, unfortunately, happening around the world, and that's one of the reasons they coming over. So what we do as an agency and as a consortium, team members of all the employment counselors, we do what we call skills assessment, where we do intake, we individualize, we get to know our clients, we assess, we also have those conversations and see, what could be transferable skills. For instance, someone may say like, oh, I never worked, especially you may see some cultural where women does more than men work does, but still not consider it as a work. Running a house of 10 kids, I can only imagine how much skills and time and management it could need. So we sit with them, we talk, we assess those skills. This is really a step that a lot of our partner employers appreciate, because we doing those screening that most of HR spend time and resources to identify who they could consider a good candidate for those opportunities they have. So after those screening, we also, take consideration accessibility to transportation, what's visible, the family income goal, how much this family need. So we do more than just placement. So, and that's really a key when we're looking in the bigger picture of retention, successful job placement, because all we know is that employers are looking at specific skills, qualities, and putting with the consultation of those employers that we partner with, we build that assessment and match the right clients or applicant to the right employment opportunities. We also continue maintaining that placement. So when we say placement, maybe a lot of employers or other guests may think we just place people and leave there. But no, we maintain that partnership. We also help onboarding. A lot of companies also appreciate when we help with safety and security trainings and so on. We partner with employers and give them as a free of charge those services that they can always reach out as a job counselor, all to work together to be that placement successful and also opportunities for advancement. Thank you.
It sounds like you're creating a good hiring experience by partnering with the employers, right? So really this question is for all of the panelists, really, what does a good hiring experience look like for the job seekers that you serve? And what are the greatest barriers that you work with regarding hiring practices, right? We've talked about transportation, we talked about language, we talked about those things, but when we're talking about hiring practices, right? We've talked about applications, right? Possibly job description. We talked about, the requiring a 5th grade, English level, right? But when we're, speaking of these hiring practices in general and working with employers, what does a good hiring experience look like for the individuals that you work with? Let's start with Jaffer and then Liban first.
Yeah, when it comes to one of the experience I just experienced, I mean, before 5 months, I think not even far away, a client who speaks only their native language came and seek for help. After I finished everything, I mean, connecting to the resources in the area, he was new, real new, maybe by that time 2 months in the country, and he's strong, have skill, and looking for a job. I try to, take all the barriers, as much as I can, to get to workforce. The way we assess back home, have you ever worked first? Do you have a job? What kind of skill you have? When we collect that data, we have to find out an employer who this individual can fit or maybe get some kind of opportunities. That individual, when I first reached out an HR and explained, they let come in. The first day he entered in the door of the employer, one of the supervisor saw like he's wearing like a dress code, what they call dress code. He's wearing shoes, open shoes, which he didn't know. But the policy of the company, there is a dress code. You have to have like you cannot get into the building premises. As soon as he saw, he said, okay, now there is no interview. Now this is dress code. You cannot get in there. Go out. Check this. One minor mistake, which we can immediately explain to that applicant and let him that opportunity. He missed that opportunity from that employer. Luckily, another employer I fill application with another employer, he get that position. Within 3 months, he get promoted. He can't speak English again. Strongly emphasize that. Within 3 months, he became a line leader, that individual. That is, you cannot imagine. So sometimes it is hard to understand when it comes, there's a language barrier. These newcomers, they carry with them many, many skills, which is benefit to our employers. That's what I just want to mention. Next to the team.
Thank you. Liban?
Yeah, thank you, Shayla and Jaffer. Yeah, hiring, I think overall is a great, but also there are some challenges. To share some positive side of it is, as Jaffer was saying, a lot of our clients come with a big dream, desperate to get financial stability so that they can, adapt to your life in the United States. That said, it's not easy to balance what they have get used to with and what the market demands or employers. Hiring success story that I would like to share is there has been a family of 3 that came to the United States, tend to have a lot of good skills, rich life back home, but unfortunately had to leave everything behind and, come for their security reasons to the United States. At the beginning, we started an entry-level job in tech shop. And that shop was, at the beginning, the employer was kind of trying to give a shot and trust the process. It really happened that not only that they succeeded in the business, but also the business within a year really expanded, where one of those individuals became the manager or the technical manager of that new store. So sometimes it looks like we have a lot of employers that are really invested and willing to hire, but not having the right communication or not having those services that we provide, connection, may have give them the hesitance. I know the market of hiring in the United States is set for locals, but all those employers that really connect with us, we coach them, we help them to build and modify a way to access this untapped talent that's out there that should, cover all the opportunities that they have. But with that being said, what also happened in that success story was the owner, the employer came and asked. I remember exactly the same words he said. He said, I need more people like them, which means, when we had a conversation, the employer was so really amazed and loved how dedicated they were, how committed, motivated, all those skills that now when you look in the market and as we talk to the employers that are success and essential for, a good transition, but also maintaining good retention.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So we got about 3 minutes left before we'll switch over to the unplugged. Hashi and Becca, anything to add additionally about a good hiring experience for your job seekers, for your individuals that you're working with? Before we switch over to unplugged.
Like I said, like just meeting people where they're at, understanding, providing space for supports with interpretation. I think even in-person tours at the beginning, like reassurance that there are cultural and religious accommodations in place. And then kind of having folks, all levels of employees on board with kind of cultural sensitivity. So, while HR might understand certain aspects of cultural context or, trauma, or, that some various differences in cultural behaviors like eye contact or handshakes that might look really good in an interview from an American perspective might not be acceptable from a different culture. So just knowing that everyone within the employer is on board. So kind of cultural sensitivity training for every level is something I would recommend as well. And then really being able to help prospective candidates understand the available resources that the employer has to help with transportation or childcare or language, on-site English classes. So they're not having to choose between taking English classes or supporting their family. Yeah.
Absolutely. And we will touch on more of those in the unplugged, so we can dig into that a little bit deeper. So lastly, Hashi, anything to add to that? We will have 30 more minutes in the unplugged.
I think Hashi is having some tech issues, but
technical
he will
issues.
right back.
Okay, perfect. So with that, I'm going to pop this on here and we will hand this over to Della.
Sounds great. Thanks, Shayla. Great information. I'm Della. I am Central Minnesota's Workforce Strategy Consultant. Join us next month on April 3rd for Workforce Wednesday, where our topic will be the top 5 employee benefits to offer experienced job seekers for your best employees. Employee benefits have become just as important as pay when trying to recruit or retain the most skilled workforce. So learn how these benefits are critical in building employees' mental and physical, emotional, and financial health. And in return, companies are rewarded with employee engagement, loyalty, and retention. Make sure to join us for an engaging discussion on April 3rd. And then our next slide, I'd like to thank Shayla and all of the great panelists for leading this presentation today on supporting the new American workforce. It was very informational. Please take a minute now to complete our survey on how we can continue to grow our Workforce Wednesday events for you. We'll take just a quick minute before we turn it back over to Shayla for our Unplugged, which is a 30-minute session where we turn off our recording and unmute ourselves and our mics and turn on the cameras for you to actually have an open conversation with all of our panelists. So give us a quick minute and we'll do a quick transition to allow you to do that. And we'll be right back in 30 seconds.
All
and I will
good.
shut off the recording real quick. Great job, everyone.